So what are the metrics we add in the ATS to filter out the SOC CVs?
Best part is, as I said, मैंने क्यों बोला avoid designs and photos?
Hmm.
Because the more you add those kind of content ना, ATS won't be able to extract text from it. ATS क्या कर रहा है? Text extract कर रहा है. Whatever you have added in your CV, it's extracting that text, comparing it with the JD, जो job description, and telling कि कितना percent match हो रहा है ये candidate. अब तुमने वो graphic and photo डाला है, ATS let's say फट गया. ATS को समझ ही नहीं आया क्या. Even you are the best candidate for me, your CV will get into the reject list automatically. The best way to know that if you want to land up in a job is, which is what I've recommended to many people, and it is, it has worked for them, is if you want to land up in an entry level job, I know there are very less openings, but at least refer to the previous openings which are no longer accepting participants also, which are already closed. It's okay. Job listing to padi hui hai, if it's there, if you're able to access it and on LinkedIn or something. Every day try to go through at least 2 to 3 job descriptions of that role or a similar set of a role. Even if your experience is not matching to it, okay, go through it, understand what is the bare minimum required by the organizations, and you will see that all they require is at an entry level fundamentals karo SOC के एक basic एक sim tool सीख लो, any sim tool, be it IBM, QRadar, Splunk. Today, even when I'm taking interviews and when I'm giving interviews, very interesting and a common question, especially in the aptitude round, in the behavior round. Technical, you clear, tum फाड़ के रख दोगे technical. In the aptitude round, people get rejected is, how do you keep yourself updated? Is what they ask you.
That is gone.
You're not keeping yourself updated. What you think is, you're handling alerts, you're doing day-to-day what is required by your company, and you're happy. And forget about interview. Tomorrow, your company won't think twice before replacing you because you're not updated, and someone with more knowledge than you is coming and doing the same job. You will be replaced.
Hi team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prabh, and today we have a special guest, my friend Mr. Urvesh. Urvesh is a seasonal cybersecurity professional with a deep expertise in digital forensics, incident response, threat hunting, and cloud operations and cloud security operations. And currently working as a senior SOC analyst for one of the MNCs. I personally follow Urvesh from last 3 years when he used to write a lot of content on SOC and all that, and now also he doing great jobs in SOC area, and he did a lot of contribution in the different information security communities like Nullcon and other aspects. It is really great pleasure for us to have him in this channel because today we're going to discuss about how to practically investigate logs and all that. And I can bet on this. This will be a great informative session for the people who are working in the SOC or who learning a SOC and they want to understand how SOC works or how the logs works in the SOC investigations. So Uvesh bhai, thank you so much for taking out the time for this session.
That's an honor for me, Prab. I mean, you introduced me so well. I mean, more of me being on this platform. It's an honor for me itself, to share this stage with slightest of my capacity I have learned. Because I mean, I believe you are indeed a great mentor and a face in the community. So I mean, whatever I can share in terms of my expertise in this whatever 1.5 hours of duration, whatever we talk. I'll try my best to give whatever I can, share about the SOC world and what I feel it's, going on into the new trending SOC world.
थैंक यू सो मच भाई मतलब ये तो मतलब इट्स लाइक रुलाएगा क्या वाली बात है बट आई एम स्टिल लर्निंग लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स एंड no one is perfect, we never say we are the influencers. We are the one who are
Yeah.
always aspiring learners who learn the small things every day because security is very dynamic in nature. The threats get changed, vulnerability get changed, risk get emerged. So we we need to be grounded well every time. So because we don't know from where we can learn, right? And personally, I never thought we will have this kind of a podcast and taking out the time in a weekend. SOC job is not easy, 24
Yeah.
into 7
Yeah.
on the floor, on the things, and then taking out the time in a weekend for giving back to the community is a big thing, Urvesh bhai. And I'm sure those who are watching this podcast, I'm sure this will be a great insight for them. And is it okay that, okay, they can reach out to you after this session, after watching this video? Definitely, because they might have some queries and all that, and I will share your LinkedIn profile in the description box of the video.
That's absolutely all right. And as you said, right, it's a community work. I believe that no one is an expert over here. We all are learning and evolving continuously. So it's all, I always believe that the more we share with the community, that's how you learn more. Because when you give something to others, you need to be perfect in it first. And that's how you excel in that. So, I mean, I'll be happy to, if people reach out to me and even to you. And hopefully, whosoever the audience is, they enjoy it so much that basically we get more opportunities like this to create more SOC related podcasts with you. Basically, that's what I want, actually, the outcome.
Thanks, Urvesh bhai. And your first student today is myself only, so I will going to make a lot of notes because uh, we don't know, like, what is the sort of information I can use for my next podcast. So I will be your first student, and I'm going to ask a lot of questions on behalf of the student community who
Yeah,
watching this podcast and all that.
absolutely. That will be great.
Okay. So, Vish, before we jump into the actual topic, which is called how to investigate logs, how to check the logs,
Yeah,
I will take your 5 minutes, Urvesh. What was your journey? How do you decided, okay, you want to make a career in SOC? Because I'm sure you also receive a lot of DMs on LinkedIn, how to make a career in cybersecurity, how to get a
yeah,
first job in cybersecurity.
yeah,
Because cybersecurity is huge, right? Pen testing is there. We have now in pen testing also red teamings and
yeah,
offensive, core offensive, and all that application security is there. Even the defensive is also categorized into multiple things: threat hunting,
yeah.
threat intel, and SOC L1, L2, L3. So, how did you decided? Okay, you want to make a career in SOC, and how you got your first job?
Absolutely. That's great. So I'll just give a bit of background about my journey. So I didn't start off with SOC, and very less people know this actually. So people who have worked closely with me, people who know me since the beginning, they know that I was not into SOC at all.
Hmm.
I'll share a funny scenario in the upcoming like a few sentences. So let me give you a bit of background. So I started off into this world as a bug bounty hunter initially, that
Hmm.
very less people are aware of actually. So I started off with bug bounty, and why? Because everyone was doing it, and that is the mindset that I had, and I don't want anyone in the world to have it anymore, right? That's the very first thing I say to anyone reaching out to me, that where do I start? uh, I mean, I believe that nobody is a perfect person to say to you that where do you start, because everyone's journey is quite different, right? I cannot say that hey Prab, start with threat hunting or start with digital forensics. What if you're not interested at all? What if your mind is more into exploit development? So you'll be a better red teamer rather than a blue team guy, right? So I started off with into bug bounty because everyone was doing it. Everyone was like, oh, bug bounty means घर बैठे बैठे पैसा कमाओ. Just have to find bugs in the website. You get dollars of money. You get t-shirts. You get swags. You get stickers. I'm like, wow. And trust me, I invested more than 1 lakh rupees in just learning bug bounty. And I actually invested that when I was in my, like ninth, 10th grade of my school, right?
So it is
So,
like
I mean, it
paisa
was
double.
not, but I'm like, I convinced my parents because I was not earning, right? So my mom, dad, used to pay for me. And I was like, ठीक है आप 1 लाख दो, मैं आपको 3 लाख करके दूंगा, bug bounty करके. And that's where I started. But then I realized, okay, bug bounty is not my cup of tea. And I
Hmm.
invested so much amount of money. I used to, hunt bugs on Government of India websites, report it to NC,
Hmm.
IIPC. I used to do bug hunting on Open Bug Bounty. And as
Hmm.
soon as I came on these platforms like Bugcrowd, HackerOne, uh,
Hmm.
it was all like, oh shit, where the hell I am? Okay,
Hmm.
because there's so much of competition, and it requires a lot of patience, persistence. And then I realized, yeah, this is not something my cup of tea. And
Why?
then I did my
Why?
the reason it was not my cup of tea was because it requires a lot of patience. See, because
Hmm.
if I'm telling you that I want to hunt a buck, I'll say 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, hunt that one buck. What if
Hmm.
that website owner comes to me, okay, this is a duplicate, this is already reported, or for me, it's not a high severity event. Or what if, okay, thank you, but we don't have a vulnerability disclosure program. You're getting nothing from us except for a thank you email. Now, how do I justify myself that the amount that I've invested
Hmm.
and the return I'm getting is a thank you email? Now, that requires a lot of, patience, perseverance, and a good amount of mindset, right?
Great also. Hmm.
Because you have invested money, you expect money in return. And that is how the world operates, right? See, if I am investing 1 lakh rupees and I'm getting a thank you email, उससे मेरा मैकडोनल्ड का बर्गर नहीं आएगा भाई. To be
Hmm.
very honest, I need money now. So
But at
that
the age of So you're in 10th standard, 11th standard, and you're
Yeah.
doing this. And I don't think so. That is the right time to talk about the money mindset. It's more about learning, or this mindset came after the completion of the your schools or college.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where the community or the people you follow plays a very important role,
Hmm.
specifically in cyber world, right? Because the bug bounty was always typed as a money earning source. घर बैठे पैसा कमाओ, just $100 and you'll get money. And that is how it is still, marketed by multiple people. See, I mean, everyone has his own way and own journey, right? To be very honest. But then it's all about how do you do the correct marketing, right? If your marketing is not right, that is what the influencer will be getting. So imagine a student who is in its 10th standard, 9th standard should be focusing on how do I clear my basics? How do I
Hmm.
learn for free? How do
Hmm.
I reach out to people in this industry and gain free insights from them? Probably how do I reach out to Prabh on LinkedIn, and he has already tons of free content already made for me. Why
Hmm.
do I have to pay to someone?
Hmm.
But it's all about the marketing, right? Okay, I'm gonna teach you bug bounty and you'll learn how to make money out of it. That is a marketing, that I not hate, but that is a marketing I don't want people to do, at least for the beginners actually.
That's why I've seen
Because
one of the video. I don't want to take a name, but we should not take a name. But recently, it's not recently. It's happening for multiple time. He make a video on how to become a hacker, and
oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
don't need to get a name. But I was surprised because see, a good offensive security person never do the promotion.
Absolutely,
See, come on.
absolutely.
I spent my 5 years, 10 years in learning not hacking but pen testing. I will say not say hacking, but it's pen testing. Come on, I cannot teach that in a training
Absolutely.
against some
Now,
monetary and for getting some
absolutely.
piece of some 10,000 rupees or $100. At least me.
Community is smart enough to know whom we are talking about, actually, to be honest, right? The point over here is, even in this podcast, whatever, like 1.5 hours, 1 hours, whatever I'll teach or talk,
Hmm.
you or me are not claiming it कि भाई मेरा 5 साल का experience I'm teaching you in just 1.5 hours. Not possible. It is not at all possible. You cannot claim, and that is where that stuck in my mind. Okay, I am into the wrong place now, and that cleared that puzzle for me. कि यार, this is a game of marketing at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Uh, so how do you deal with it? So you deal with it by sitting yourself, jotting down the topics, exploring the free stuff, because I personally do not recommend. Okay, Prab, I'll be super honest with you. Let's consider industry standard certificate today, CEH, and everyone knows about it.
Hmm.
यार तुमको CEH करना है ना,
Hmm.
तुम्हारे जेब में you should have at least $50,000
Exactly. Training plus
just for that
certification.
one
Yeah.
certification.
And
50,000 bucks.
OECP is 1.5.
OCP is 1.5, and posts are like entry level SOC analyst, L1 SOC analyst, entry level job it is. Required certifications OSCP. How can you expect a person at an entry level to get an OSCP? So you see that marketing effect is not just to the beginners, but वो इतना ऊपर तक गया है, people who are not in this field, the HR or the hiring managers who are not from the technical background. The marketing effect is so wide that they are also writing that we need an OSCP for an entry level job. It
Agree.
does not make any sense
But
to me,
but
right?
but I will one thing I want to agree on this part, Uvesh. You need to understand in last 10 years, the cybersecurity market got changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even take an example of hack the box and all that. They when they provide the initial registration, you need to crack the code and then only you can able to get the registration STB or try hack me.
Correct.
And today everything has become a business. So there's a two type of people we have in cyber. One who enter based on their own passion, they know what
Yeah,
they're doing, and second is the people who follow the others. हाँ, उर्वेश
correct.
पैसा छाप रहा है, so I will also make the same. But they don't know about the background about that, right? And that is the reason might be those who watching this podcast. I'm not against you guys. I'm not, but I'm telling the reality. If you joining the cyber because someone is doing great, don't do that
Yeah, yeah.
because that will hurt your expectation. So I believe, Uresh, that is the reason, when we used to have 100 candidates, now we have 1,000 candidates. And now the HR also become choosy that, okay, yes, if I have a bunch, let me set my criteria.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that is where I always say to the people that if you're entering cybersecurity, please do not enter for looking money. Please do not enter looking people. Please do not enter looking the job pay scale. Because if
Hmm.
someone is earning 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs per annum,
Hmm.
just ask him or her personally कि भाई how much grind you have done in the past. Then you'll realize that to reach that level, it's not easy today in the job market. Okay,
Agree.
only enter if you are passionate. And there's no doubt if you are passionate, you will do much well, way well. Probably there will be a person, who is even more better than me and earning more better than me, and I'll be the one who will be learning from him or her. That's the simple funda.
That is why, whenever I tell any participant that any person who preparing for, planning to make a career in cyber, three things you have to check. One, start with the free learning, get your basic
Yeah,
done, get your homework done. You should not sit in any training room with empty mind. Okay, whatever the trainer is going to teach, I will listen. No, get, understand everything first, build your learning powers. Don't use chat GPT. Second is that, build the foundation.
yeah,
And after that, if you find, okay, yes, now I'm looking for something, then you can enroll in a training program. But before you enrolling in a training program, check trainer profile. How much is certified? How much is qualified? Because the difference between the good hacker and great hacker is the good hacker is the one who hack and who leave traces, and the great hacker is the
absolutely,
one who doesn't leave traces. Same
absolutely.
applicable with a good pro hacker is the one who never claim that
Yeah,
he's a
yeah,
hacker, and
absolutely, absolutely.
the script kiddies we call the one who use a predefined tool claim to be a hacker. So Urvesh, we had a lot of discussion here. So
Yeah.
how do you got the first job?
For me, first job was again, it was super tough for me in a way
Hmm.
because I said that I came from a Bhagwanti background. I
Hmm.
did my diploma in cybercrime investigation because that
Hmm.
is where I found my passion, that hunting cyber criminals is what I love.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
doing OSINT. So I started to work with LEAs, law
Hmm.
enforcement agencies. I built
Hmm.
up some network around me. I built up my
How
own
you build the
profile.
network? How you build the network?
It's all about you connect with the right amount of people and with the right mindset of people. See,
Hmm.
having 8,000 LinkedIn connections is of no use
Hmm.
out of उस 8,000 में से 8 people are not useful to you.
Hmm.
Even that 8 people are not posting the content, what's the use of having that 8,000, 10,000 plus k and hyping it on
Hmm.
social media that
Hmm.
so many followers I have? There's
मैं
no
तू
point
मुझे
to
मार
it.
रहा है
मैं नहीं, I mean, see, नहीं नहीं भाई, ऐसा नहीं है. This is all about तुम follow किसको कर रहे हो, ठीक है?
Hmm.
क्या होता है ना, people think that profile building or community building or network building is all about gaining followers.
Hmm.
But I believe कि ठीक है, once you are at an influencer stage, once you have a
Hmm.
face, right,
Hmm.
you run behind followers. वो जरूरी
Hmm.
है भाई. अगर
Hmm.
मैं खुद को इन्फ्लुएंसर बोल रहा हूँ और मेरे
Hmm.
लिंक्डइन पे 400 कनेक्शंस है, कोई
Hmm.
वर्थ नहीं है उसका.
Hmm.
बट अगर मैं इन्फ्लुएंसर बोल के 4,000 कनेक्शंस बना रहा हूँ ऑन माई लिंक्डइन, आई कैन से हाँ भाई मैं इन्फ्लुएंसर हूँ, मैं कुछ डूइंग
Yeah.
समथिंग.
Yeah.
But as a beginner, whom do you follow? That's the most critical thing, right?
And how you
So
figure out? How did you figure out?
the best way I could figure out is the people who are, basically sharing free content, posting good. Again, active in the communities like Null. बहुत सारे, I mean, Null is one of the name. There is
Hmm.
a lot of names that I can take. A lot of communities.
B-side,
B-sides, there is
DEFCON.
Hackers Meetup,
Hmm.
DEFCON. I mean, these are the places where you will find physical events also. So
Hmm.
try to go in those physical events. These are absolutely free of cost.
Hmm.
Each, अगर तुम, if you're in a tier one, tier two city like Bangalore or something,
Hmm.
the communities are very, very much active and people are quite helpful. So
Okay.
engage with more and more people. क्योंकि क्या होता है, once you interact with one person, you'll get to know his mindset. You
Hmm.
interact with two people, you'll have mindsets of two people. The more people you interact with, you'll get to know the mindset of different people. And then you get to know कि भाई किसको तुमको एक एक बोलते हैं ना मेंटोर पाथ देके उसके उसके पाथ पे चलना है,
उसको
या
फॉलो करना है.
उसको फॉलो करना है.
Hmm.
Basis your own interest, right? See, liking someone is your own out of personal interest, that
Hmm.
आपको किसको फॉलो करना है. वो
Hmm.
तभी पॉसिबल हो पाएगा ना जब तुम्हारे पास 15-20 ऑप्शंस होंगे.
Hmm.
भाई, let me give a very simple funny example on this. People use Tinder, right? You just do one right swipe, you'll find a girl. How can you know that girl is of your choice and
Vice
you'll
versa
be
also.
happy,
हाँ.
right?
हाँ.
You swipe 20-30 profiles, तब जाके एक मैच आता है, and then you feel
Hmm.
like हाँ कुछ कनेक्ट बैठा है दोनों में.
Hmm.
सिमिलर इन्फ्लुएंसर वर्ल्ड, साइबर वर्ल्ड में ऐसा होता है. फॉलो द राइट पीपल, टॉक
But
टू एन
how
नंबर
how
ऑफ
do you
पीपल.
find the instinct? Like we had this concept, like guys, those who watching this podcast, that was not agenda of the podcast, but trust me, I really found this part is interesting, and that's why I want to drag into this area.
Yeah,
So, Urvesh, my question is again, what is the instinct? Okay, ठीक है. Prabh Nair. Okay, people know me for my identity CISSP.
yeah,
Then now for the certifications.
Yeah.
That's so I'm proud of it because I don't have any shame on that. But thankfully, I don't do for the followership.
Yeah.
It get with the blessing of Ganesha. But my question is basically, what is the instinct? There should be instant metrics. You consider,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
want to follow this guy
Yeah.
because of this and all that. So, what are the instant metrics that you consider when you selecting a mentor?
Yeah. For me, it is always gonna be to be very honest,
Hmm.
and this is something my personal answer. It
Hmm.
might change with people to people. It might
Hmm.
it might be different for you, in fact.
Hmm. Hmm.
My first instinct is the groundness and the humbleness.
Hmm.
I mean, मेरे को नहीं फर्क पड़ता if that mentor does not know OSCP. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter to me. But
Hmm.
that mentor is humble enough to answer me, humble
Hmm.
enough to respond me,
Hmm.
humble enough, to respond to my queries.
Hmm.
That's a very great sign of me. I have personally seen people whom I have worked with when they were quite small
Hmm.
and they were very humble. And as soon as they grow, as soon as they have their own company or something, their entire mindset changes and they become damn corporate professional that, oh, who are you? So you get the point, right? I
Hmm.
have personally worked with those kind of people, and it hurts in the long run.
Hmm.
It's not helpful. That's how you foster a community, actually. So
Hmm.
for me, find a mentor who's humble enough, even humble enough to even say a no to you.
Hmm.
राइट टुडे साइबर वर्ल्ड में ऐसे मेंटोर्स है ना भाई नहीं आता हाँ मेरे को ये आता है ऐसे करना है that's not the point, right? If I want to be a mentor, I'll be humble enough. If someone comes and says me, Urvesh, I'll pay you, let's say 10,000, or I'm giving you my time, even 1 hour of my time. Tell me about pen testing. I'll be like, I'm sorry, bro. I am not that kind of a person. I'm not into that field. I have some of my friends who can help you in this. See, that is where you
But
get to
Urvesh,
know that
one
the
thing you
person
need to
is humble
understand.
enough even to say a no.
But here, what happens is, let's say, example, in my case, I have around
Hmm,
150K connections and all that, right?
hmm,
And every day I used to receive some of them I don't reply
hmm,
also because so many
hmm,
messages.
hmm,
So might be
hmm,
that depending on
hmm.
person to person, right? Perspective. Example, like right now, if I'm in a project, if I'm in something, okay, I'm getting
Yeah,
multiple DMs, help me, help me, help me, help me. But I'm stuck with something.
yeah,
So there is a possibility he
yeah,
can create a perspective in his mind that this guy's attitude.
yeah. That is
You will,
all about perception. But
yeah.
see, your humbleness does not define by how much you are interacting with the people always. Your
Hmm.
humbleness also defines by how much active you are in the community in terms
Hmm.
of आप post क्या कर रहे हो, share क्या कर रहे हो, ठीक
हाँ
है?
वो फिर ठीक है हाँ.
समझ रहे हो? सो उन उन आई मीन मेरे लिए वो पहला क्राइटेरिया है कि भाई
Okay.
उसकी एक्टिवनेस, हम्बलनेस कितनी है. तुम्हारे नाम क्या है? प्रभ भाई, यू हैव so many certifications on your title. People know, people see on your LinkedIn. But you don't boast about it. Hey, I'm CISSP, hey, I'm CISSP, hey, I'm
No,
CISSP, come to me, come to me, come to me.
हिम्मत ही नहीं
You
है.
are like, I am a CISSP. I am a CISSP. I can help you to clear your exam with whatever knowledge I have.
हाँ.
That is what humbleness मैं बोलता हूँ, right? अगर आप सर्विस भी दे रहे हो किसी को कि भाई मैं तुमको हेल्प कर रहा हूँ सीएसएसपी क्लियर करने के लिए, यू आर नॉट कि भाई मैं बड़ा हूँ, मैंने सीएसएसपी क्लियर किया, मेरे से उखाड़ो. नो, it's all about that. I can help you in whatever I way. That's
Hmm.
what the humbleness is. Okay. वो पहला क्राइटेरिया होता है एक मेंटोर का. सेकंड थिंग व्हाट आई इवैल्यूएट इन अ मेंटोर इज अगेन द एरिया, लाइक दैट इज कंप्लीटली डिपेंड ऑन तुम्हारा इंटरेस्ट एरिया क्या है.
Hmm.
And that again I can say I have said this, three day rule, 3-3-3. What I tell to my people around me is take out 3 days, study about blue teaming, study about incident response.
Hmm.
उन 3 दिनों में है ना इंसिडेंट रिस्पॉन्स को तुम खोज के रखना. Watch as many videos as possible, consume all the free content. Next
Hmm.
3 days, close that book, study about let's say threat hunting.
Hmm.
Okay, deep dive into it, study end to end, whatever you can, be using the free resources. The human mindset is, अगर मैं if I'm spending 3 days on incident response, and if my area is that area, that is my gold area that I want to target, my brain will automatically develop interest and I'll spend 6 days on it. But
Hmm.
let's say if I'm not getting interest on it, my
Hmm.
brain will automatically go in a shut off mode wherein कि यार it's not something मेरे को interest आ रहा है, इसमें coding लग रहा है, मेरे को coding नहीं आता है.
Hmm.
So instead of 3 days, I'll get bored, or I'll get, I'll give up in just 1 or 1.5 day.
Hmm.
Evaluate those core areas where you are getting that curiosity, getting that interest. Once you know that, find the people, find the mentor who are working in those areas then.
Okay.
See, for me it makes no sense if people of red teaming are following me, because उनको कंटेंट में दे ही नहीं पाऊंगा at the end of the day.
You have to
right?
follow the mentor who respected from that field. If someone is
Exactly.
following the OffSec, OffSec. If someone is following in the SOC, so you can follow SOC people.
Connections बनाने में issue नहीं है. Follow people who
Uh,
are in offsec,
but
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 then
but
don't expect them to be your mentor.
but Urvesh, the reality is that until unless you don't have a name, people will not connect you.
Yeah,
Example.
yeah,
अभी क्या है कि ठीक है, I have a connection of 1.5. It's not something proud of it because it's not
yeah,
generating any monetary revenue for me. So let's say example, but
yeah.
if I have only 100 connections,
Hmm.
if I have 50 connections, is it clear why the person will connect me? Why the like you are an influencer? Let's say example, you
Agree.
have experience. Okay, so you said Prab, the initial stage of getting a first job is the social network
Yeah,
or
yeah,
networking. So in the case of the person who does not have an experience, is a
yeah.
newbie, and he created a LinkedIn profile and all that, then in that case, how they build the social network?
Agree, and that's a good question. Now, I'll ask a question on or to you on this, right?
Hmm, hmm,
Um, Basically, when I'm reaching out to you, hey Prab,
hmm,
we
hmm,
can do a
hmm,
podcast,
hmm,
right? Why it is so? Because it all shows that how active I am. अगर आप भी मेरा प्रोफाइल देख रहे हो, आप मेरे को पॉडकास्ट पे बुला रहे हो,
hmm,
you are seeing my profile that even if I have, let's say, 10 followers or something, but how
hmm,
good am I at my content, right?
hmm.
If I'm able to convey that. If not on the podcast, you'll at least see that I'm regular on the network, right?
Agree.
So regularity is important. What I'm trying to say indirectly over here is you
Hmm,
have just started, right?
hmm,
You have zero network, zero connections. Send out, to people who are already known in the community, right?
hmm.
तुम
Check
सर्च
my
करोगे
reading,
तुमको
check
लोग
my
मिले.
read and all that.
Exactly, check my read and
Hmm,
all. Connect
hmm,
to the people. धीरे धीरे ही connection बढ़ेगा, right?
hmm,
And यहाँ पे one important point is, in order to build a connection, you need to be active. It doesn't matter you're sharing, a zero day vulnerability, or how did you find a bug in a, website. That doesn't matter to me. As long as you're posting something, as long as you're sharing what you have learned,
hmm,
the other person will get an idea. Okay, this person is active.
hmm. You know
For
about
me,
things.
yeah, for me, if I'm evaluating any student, any person, or any professional, right, I'll see the LinkedIn posts. For me, it doesn't matter that, that LinkedIn post is like very in detail, something nobody has talked about. Okay, that's okay. But what if that person is sharing common Windows ports, common Windows event IDs? It's
Reposting.
okay for me. Posting is important over here.
Hmm.
Learn, सीख रहा है वो. He's learning, he's
Might be
exploring.
something I learned from his post also.
Why not? Why not?
Hmm, hmm,
Simply. Now, what if I'm scrolling through? I have so much of experience, let's say 15, 20 years of experience. All of a sudden, I come to this post, common Windows event IDs. Oh, recap for me. What is this? Right? That what, clicks your mind. So posting is quite important for in terms of, building your connections actually.
and I
Second,
agree on this part is because recently, like right now from this podcast, I got four content idea. What should be the next video.
yeah,
So we don't know from which person will get the, because there's no, so I have a different profile, you have a different profile, but
correct.
it basically give me the idea about how to integrate the things, right? So I believe that can be a good chance to build the connection.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, let's basically come to the conclusion to it that how did I landed in my job?
Hmm.
To be
No, you're saying
honest,
the second
I
point.
all
You're talking about the second point, yeah.
yeah, that's what the second point is. That was, the conclusion point that in terms of one thing is your network and one thing is your skill development. Okay.
Hmm.
This is what I've realized after so much of, investment in cybersecurity is that having titles is one part to it. I mean, there's a LinkedIn post that I've done that it's not just shine of your certificates, but the strength of your skills that makes
Hmm.
you stand out. So people, it's not just the shine of the certificates because I've done this, I'm qualified to get a job. Not at all. I have i have worked with people, worked with hiring managers who literally does not give an f about certificates. I'm
Hmm.
using that word. They don't give an f about your certifications. They don't even open that section in your resume.
Hmm.
I've worked with such people, and what they see out in you is your skills actually, right? So for me it was like I have developed my skills and I share my skills on LinkedIn. I share my skills with people, and that same gets highlighted in my interviews actually. That's what I do, right? So because let's say if I say that I've done, ETHP, e-learn certified threat hunting professional, and मेरे को क्या पूछ रहा है sysmon क्या होता है, and oh shit, I'm gone there, right? How can I claim that I'm an ETHP, right? So it's all about develop your skills. Even if you don't have certifications, company will hire you, company will pay for your certification. To be
That's
very
true.
honest,
Yeah,
company will
agree.
pay for your certification, but show off your skills then in that case. So, and trust me, my first job that I got was I was basically, doing this content sharing, SOC teaching, लोगों को पढ़ाना सिखाना, and
Wow.
I had no idea that I want to get in and land up in a job
Hmm.
because of my network, because of my skills. Uh, the first company that I worked with, like Informatica, I mean, it's on LinkedIn. Why to hide it, right? A person who was leaving Informatica knew me because of my skills and because of my activeness
Wow.
in my interaction with him. And he gave notice paper at Informatica and he was like, hey, there's an internship opening. Can I refer you? So I'm like, okay, just refer me. And I was just graduating at that time. My graduation was not completed. So the hiring manager at Informatica, he said, okay, I cannot hire him as a full time because degree nahi hai bhai. So what he said to me was, I can hire you as an intern for now. You can, work as an intern. And once your graduation is done, we'll convert you into a full time.
Hmm.
That's how I landed in my first job. So, and trust me, Prab, since then I have seen people, applying for jobs. I mean, it's quite debatable. You can debate with me on this in some later series, but trust me, just by visiting LinkedIn, keeping your updated resume, and clicking thousands of apply links won't get you a job in today's market.
So if I say, I'm sorry, but this look more interesting for the discussion. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about uh, what should be the ideal content of the CV?
So idle content of the CV, I always say
I'm not
that.
saying little content, but just
Yeah,
the parameters. You know what
yeah,
that they should be there if he's a fresher.
yeah. One thing I would like to know is I mean, do, some people might get offended by it, okay? But I mean, this is a platform where I want to share.
You
Specifically in
can.
cybersecurity, the first thing that I want, instead of kya include karo, I would say kya avoid karo first is do not add your photos and that Canva wala design to it.
Hmm.
Dude, this is not a graphic designing role. And this is not your marriage biodata. This
Yeah.
is about your work. You're going to do a work for me. I'll see your face in the first round of interview.
Hmm.
And if that mattered to me, I wouldn't have hired you for a cybersecurity role. I would have, asked you, भाई भारत matrimony पे आ जाओ तेरी शक्ल देखनी है मेरे को. I mean, I'm not saying for other fields. For cybersecurity, I'm saying probably
Hmm.
graphic designing ये सब matter करता हो. I don't know. But for cybersecurity, you're designing your resume in a word. Simple, best है यार.
What is the
Just your
content?
name.
But what is the
Content
content?
is, yeah, the content it should be. See, even if you don't have experience, I understand you're looking out for a job and you might not have five, six experiences to list upon.
Hmm.
Instead of experience, try to list where you have done internship. Try to find free internship or something. If that is also not the case, the best part is highlight your projects.
Hmm.
Highlight your projects. It shows the interviewer, it shows the other person that you're doing some hands on. If you directly start with certifications, that's of no use to me. Okay, start with projects. If see, I'm writing, I have developed, a USB stealer. I have developed my own USB rubber ducky for $5. That is something as an interviewer, I'll get an interest. Wow, you have done something practically.
Hmm.
इससे क्या होगा ना प्रभ, the interview will get an context कि आपको क्वेश्चन कहाँ से और क्या पूछना है, right? Now, as an interviewer, I have not done OSCP,
Hmm.
and he has written all about offensive OSCP, OSCP, OSCP. What question do I ask to you now? But on the other hand, you have seen that, hey, I have written, a keylogger in Rust language. I've written a PHP shellcode in, let's say in some of the offensive project that I've done, or even from my home network. I'm using a virtual box and I'm doing it. Or I've set it up, Elastic SIM home lab from scratch in VirtualBox. Now I know what to ask. I know how I can have at least an introduction question that what did you do in this? How did you do in this? Explain me the steps.
Hmm.
In these three questions only, पता चल जाता है how much the candidate is able to answer and how much
Hmm.
he has practically done.
Okay.
Right? If I am saying you that I've set it up Elastic Stack and I've written 18, detection rules in my home lab using VirtualBox, the one question is like, how have you done it?
Hmm.
The way the candidate is explaining is enough for me to evaluate how much, skillful or, more work he needs to do on the tacticals, right? But to be honest, company is, not interested to know about what you have learned or, what certification you have done. Company is interested to know हम तुमको कैसे यूज कर सकते
What exactly the skill you bring on the table?
हैं. How you are useful to me यार. to be end of the day. If I'm hiring you tomorrow and I'm giving you this laptop, what you can do for me? That's what the company is looking for, and company is paying you for it.
Okay.
So
So Urvesh, here, one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's a very interesting thing you said. So when you say CV, you said
yeah,
about it should not be graphic design and all that,
yeah,
we should have your address, names, and
yeah,
qualifications and all that. What are the other things we can add in the CV which hook the interviewer to check my content? Yeah. Like project details I mentioned.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And anything
yeah.
else? BTech, I have a
Uh,
4 year, yeah.
yeah. The best part you can do is try to add some level of statistics or numbers,
Example?
even if you're a beginner. So let's say if I want to, as I said, right, I'll mention about a project that I have, let's say project name is open source security setup, open source
Hmm.
SOC,
Hmm.
which I have saying that I have set it up open source entire security operation setup, right?
Hmm.
Other than writing that, I have set it up open source SOC using Elastic, Wazoo, N10, Shuffle, Hive, and these technologies. What I'll write is set it up open source SOC, set it up SOAR, automated 30% of SOC operations in the home
Wow.
lab.
Oh.
Now this gives a very striking point to me as an interviewer कि भाई हमारी कंपनी स्ट्रगल कर रही है सॉक को ऑटोमेट करने में, and you did it in your home lab. How did you do it? And what level of automations you have developed that you are claiming that you have developed 30% of SOC automation, and that 30% can be very simple, Prab. So it could be as simple as the alert is coming. Now, rather than the analyst manually going to that alert, triaging that alert, handling that alert, the guy has automated it. Alert comes, automatically case is created, automatically it is assigned, automatically it goes to the virus total, does the analysis, gives the analysis to you, and
Hmm.
the only thing that the analyst has to do now is whether this alert is true positive or false positive using some
Hmm.
manual intelligence now. Companies are struggling to do this kind of automation today. Mention that you have done this. Mention that phishing email analysis. So common interview question, phishing email analysis. How will you analyze a phishing email? Now, rather than in my resume that I'm writing, I know how to do phishing email analysis and all, I'll try to develop a skill. I'll try to develop, I know how to automate phishing email analysis. I know how to, I have developed a script that checks for SMTP details, that checks for, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. A small
Hmm.
Python script is
Hmm.
enough for me to evaluate that person. Now I know that if the person has developed a script to check for, SPF, DKIM, DMARC, I know he knows how to do phishing email analysis. He'll do an L1 triage for me now.
Hmm.
So
And
try
when
to include,
but when you hire a candidate, when you check the CVs and all that, um, I'm sure you're receiving a huge quantity of CVs, at
yeah,
one point in time.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
even it is a challenge for the HR also to filter out the CV. So when we see from the lens of interviewer perspective of
Yeah,
shortlisting the CV,
yeah.
definitely it is not possible for you to open every CV and check and all
No,
that.
not at
So
all, not at
so
all.
if I say the level one of screening,
Yeah.
okay, we use this ATS, PTS, whatever
Yes.
जो अभी
Correct, correct, correct.
use हो रहा है. So what are the metrics we add in the ATS to filter out the SOC CVs?
Best part is, as I said, मैंने क्यों बोला avoid designs and photos?
Hmm.
Because the more you add those kind of content ना,
Hmm.
ATS won't be able to extract text from it. ATS क्या कर रहा है? Text extract कर रहा है. Whatever you have added in your CV, it's extracting that text, comparing it with the JD,
Hmm.
जो job description, and telling कि कितना परसेंट मैच हो रहा है ये कैंडिडेट.
Hmm. Hmm.
अब तुमने वो ग्राफिक एंड फोटो डाला है, एटीएस लेट्स से फट गया, एटीएस को समझ ही नहीं आया ये क्या है. Even you are the best candidate for me, your CV will get into the reject list automatically. So
Hmm.
the hence I said the first point, avoid that graphics, and best part to avoid ATS is be as close to your job description that the person is hiring for.
Hmm.
Okay. See, I'm not saying if you are into an offensive profile and you want to enter a defensive, you cannot. You can. You have offensive content in your resume, OSCP and all those stuff.
Hmm.
But तुम ये देखो सामने वाला तुमसे क्या करवाना चाहता है,
Hmm.
राइट? वो जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिखा है. And see, Prab, that's again a debatable topic that how to write what the job description should be, because some companies they make it good, some companies they make it bad, some
Hmm.
companies they write the job description because the HR is typing it,
Hmm.
and in some companies the hiring manager types the job description. That is completely a biased topic now. Okay, so I feel that closely align yourself with the job description, because वही ATS bypass करवाएगा भाई, और कुछ नहीं करवाएगा तुमको.
Okay. So as you said about, the entry position for any SOC and all the job, wish, like, we have L1, right? So there's a lot of white papers are available on
Yeah,
there's a lot of white papers are available on social media,
yeah,
that SOC interview questions and all that. But 2025, in 2025, what
yeah.
are the realistic questions interviewer basically ask from the candidate?
So I'll be super honest with you.
Hmm.
So when it comes to a beginner level, I'm talking about beginners, okay?
Beginner means what? What is a beginner here?
Who are starting actually, who wants to land up in their first job,
तो फर्स्ट
basically.
जॉब तो L1 होगी ना. फर्स्ट जॉब विल बी
L1,
L1. हाँ.
L1, L1.
हाँ.
Acha, forget about L1. Uh, I was recently hiring for L2 and L3 folks. To be
फ्रेशर.
super honest. नहीं फ्रेशर के भी ऊपर L2 लेवल 2 एंड लेवल
हाँ
3
वो ठीक
फोक्स
है.
में
हाँ
हायर
हाँ.
करा था.
हाँ.
एक कॉमन पैटर्न मैंने देखा है बीट L1 L2 L3 ना in almost, and this is personally being super honest with you, basis what I've interviews I've given also.
हम्म.
It's not that I'm just taking interviews. Agar if I'm interviewing two people, on the other hand, I've given 20 interviews also for myself,
हम्म.
right?
हम्म.
So basis that learning, what I can say is at L1, L2, and L3 level, whatsoever level you go, a common trend that I've seen is, is strengthen your fundamentals actually.
हम्म.
That is very, very important. There you will find, as you said, right? There are white papers and so many people sharing top 25 SOC interview questions. उस 25 से मैं एक भी नहीं पूछूंगा. What what now? You get that point, right? But
हम्म.
one thing that will surely impress the interviewer, I'm not saying that it will get you the job, but it will
हम्म.
impress the interviewer is that your fundamentals are clear.
एग्जाम्पल.
Example, let me give you the question only, right? A question only. I am asking a person, what is a DNS tunneling attack? And this is a very common question that you'll find in those blueprint also. Okay,
हम्म.
easily
हम्म.
you'll find this question. बंदा बता रहा है DLS tunneling this is what DLS tunneling works. Done.
हम्म.
My next question is, at what layer of OSI it's targeting? And
ओ
blank.
वाह.
And the person is blank. Right? Now I am judging that person. I am, kind of building that perception. यार OSI layer ही नहीं weak है. OSI
वेरी
layer ही
सही.
नहीं पता. You don't know how the commuters are communicating, and you are explaining me an attack which
हम्म.
involves network in it. DNS tunneling, and you don't know at which layer DNS operates in the OSI model. Now, as an interviewer, it gives me an impression, okay, you have just, learned this question because of for the sake of saying it onto an interview. How you're justifying your skills to me? Okay, rather you tell me DNS tunneling, no, I've not heard of it. I'll follow up on that question. Do you know at what layer it attacks? Oh, DNS, it's an application layer. Oh, seek jayega. He is trainable. The person is trainable even if he
हम्म.
doesn't know the end-to-end attack. Because see, I'll be super honest with you. Companies doesn't expect you to know their environment because you're not part of their team in right now.
वेरी गुड पॉइंट.
So companies don't expect what data they are logging in. Okay, some technologies you should know. If companies using Elastic, ELK stack, companies using IBM QRadar, they'll mention in the JD that strong proficiency in IBM QRadar, strong proficiency in Elastic Stack or whatsoever technology they are using it. If you have that, that's a plus point. Okay. Uh, I'll just take one more minute to explain this in a better way. This is my personal experience that I was, very latest personal experience, in fact. So there's this organization X, they are using Splunk as a SIM tool. Okay. And it's been a very long time that I've not used Splunk. I know how to use Splunk, but practically in my hands-on, I've not. It's been a long time. I've not touched it yet. If given some amount of time to learn again, I'll just a little bit of learning curve and I'll hit it again very easily. Now the company is using Splunk. I don't know Splunk. How do I excel myself? How do I excel myself? Rather than saying, hey, I don't know Splunk, being like, okay, it's been a long time that I've not used Splunk, but I'm very good in Elastic Stack. I'm very good in IBM QRadar. Okay, at the end of the day, each SIM tool does the same thing: data
हम्म.
indexing, data parsing, data normalization. I can say, I don't know how Splunk does data normalization, but I know the entire step of how IBM QRadar does it. And with given learning amount of time, I can do that. And the best way I have, learned to say this is any person will have 30 days of notice period minimum in India. Minimum, I'm saying, or 60 days, let's say, a standard Indian criteria. Say, if you select me, if I'm hired for this role, anyways, I have, 30 days to join your organization, or even if I'm joining immediately, with whatever amount of time that I have, I'll invest my time to learn. and excel in this field. I'll do Splunk certification. I'll do Splunk for bots. So always do a background research of what technology the company is using, even if you don't know how to use it. That background research is enough, to kill that job and focus on the fundamentals. No one is interested how the APT threat group did a dynamic threat injection, DLL injection. That is required once you are scaling up the ladder. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, if you're applying for a role, jahan pe yaar, they have said that you need 3 to 5 years of experience in threat hunting. You will expect that detailed threat hunting answer. You won't expect just the basics. You will expect a bit detailed. But how do I answer that detail? Okay, in a mid senior level role, when I was interviewing for a company, they asked me, they showed me a command that what is this command about, and how this command led to a DLL injection. Why I'm emphasizing on basics, I'll show you that command also as we go ahead in the series, right? But what if I don't know what is a DLL file now?
Hmm.
How I'm supposed to say what is DLL injection? Here you get to know the points कि basics are strong होने चाहिए. What is a DLL? Why it is important in the Windows operating system? भाई पढ़ो ना पहले ये. Then study about the attacks. See, because if a person is asking you about an attack, right? Any
Hmm.
interviewer is asking about a specific attack.
Hmm.
He or she is clever enough to know that attack pattern will change in the future. Some new trend will come.
Hmm.
But at least you know what is a DLL. That is important. And always one important tip is don't say that okay, don't be like DLL injection. No, I'm sorry, I've not heard of that. अगर तुमको DLL भी पता है ना, try to answer, hey, that I don't know what DLL injection is, but I know that DLL files are important. This is critical. And one of the way it can be abused is this. हाँ, but that doesn't mean तुम कुछ भी bluff करके आ जाओ. अगर कुछ भी नहीं आता ना भाई, if you know nothing about it, be like, okay, this is something I don't know, but I need a revision on it. Simple.
Okay. But अभी क्या
So,
है कि उसके like I used to receive a lot of DM. There's no jobs in SOC.
hmm, hmm,
I did training,
hmm,
but I don't get a job.
hmm,
So if I am a person who is a fresher,
hmm, hmm,
if I'm a person who is a
hmm,
fresher,
hmm.
and I'm very clear about my aim that okay, I want a job in 30 days or 60 days.
Yeah,
Okay, what should be
yeah,
my checklist?
perfect. That's a great question.
And I'm a
Um,
person
hmm,
want to make a career in SOC.
hmm, hmm,
I have no idea.
hmm,
Okay, but I want a job in 30 days or 60 days or
hmm,
6 months.
hmm,
I'm not
hmm,
getting a calls. I'm
hmm,
uploading a CVs,
hmm, hmm,
how to start that? Because if
hmm.
this section of the podcast is watching uh, by the students and the freshers, so what is the information you want to give to them?
Very good question, in fact. And this is what the actual scenario is. Practically speaking, it's not about basics clear karo, ye bhi karo, because there's a huge dump of knowledge out there, right?
Hmm.
One thing you make sure is to not, you know, I mean, what people are doing these days. Uh, you have heard this quote, right? Jack of all trades, master of none,
Hmm.
right? I take it in a way for beginners is jack of all trades, master of none, but it's still better than master of one,
Hmm.
right?
Both are different now. Offensive and defensive both are different. You cannot
Yeah,
do the
okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, also in terms of, let's say you want to, let's talk about practical example, SOC L1. You want to
Hmm.
get an entry level job in SOC itself, and you have 30 days of time. The best checklist would be is clear the fundamentals of SOC. Very primitive fundamentals. कि भाई SOC क्या है, क्यों है? Even though you know it, but still
Hmm.
clear it from
Hmm.
multiple people. What is SOC? Why it is required? What are the now even in SOC, right? Any good resource you refer, the very first line is that in SOC you need a SIM tool, SIEM tool. And the best way to know that if you want to land up in a job is, what is what I've recommended to many people, and it is, it has worked for them is, if you want to land up in an entry level job, I know there are very less openings, but at least refer to the previous openings which are no longer accepting participants also, which are already closed. It's okay. Job listing to padi hui hai if it's there, if you're able to access it and on LinkedIn or something.
Hmm.
Every day try to go through at least 2 to 3 job descriptions of that role or a similar set of a role. Even if your experience is not matching to it, okay, go through it,
Hmm.
understand what is the bare minimum required by the organizations, and you will see that all they require is at an entry level fundamentals karo SOC के. बेसिक एक सिम टूल सीख लो, एनी सिम
Hmm.
टूल,
Hmm.
बीट IBM, क्यूरेडार, स्प्लंक, जो भी अवेलेबल है. वाजू इज वेरी ट्रेंडिंग दीज डेज, यू आर अवेयर, राइट? Every person is posting about Wazoo this, Wazoo that, Wazoo this, right? At least one SIM tool you should know. The reason I'm saying for SOC, because I know that domain, right? It might be a different checklist for red teaming, okay? But किसी भी job role के लिए, what is the
Hmm.
first line of defense? When we say first line of defense, it is our BSF border security force in India, right? Similarly, in SOC, what is the first line of defense? It is a SIM tool, SIEM tool.
Hmm.
Without that, you won't expect yourself to get a job into it, right? Right? So study that first line of defense, what is required. SOC के type, SIM tool एक को एक SIM tool master कर लो, and उस 30 days में, उस 15 दिन में, at least try to do some home level of project, एक minimum. This is what I would recommend. Because see, seeing YouTube videos, writing notes, reading about PDF, reading from PDF notes is one part of it. You will get to know the theory. Okay, good. But at least one hands-on, you should be able to demonstrate yourself.
Understood.
कि भाई एटलीस्ट मैंने एक स्प्लंक इंस्टॉल करा, फॉरवर्डर इंस्टॉल करा, लॉग्स देख पा रहा हूं मैं, और इट डजेंट मैटर, you don't know how to read the logs right now, you're a beginner, but at least you're seeing that the logs are coming in, or you're able to see something on your screen right now,
Hmm.
is what I recommend. So study the fundamental is the first step. Study what is required, the bare minimum, and you'll get that to know by you watching these videos, watching the job descriptions, reading the job descriptions carefully. For example, if you say entry level job, any company you pick up, XYZ company, years of experience will differ, certifications will differ, right? But what bare minimum they are asking? Networking,
Hmm.
OS fundamental,
Hmm.
Windows fundamental, a SIM tool, right? अगर देखो एक ट्रेंड बताता हूँ, देयर आर 10 कंपनीज. एक कंपनी बता रही है मेरे को क्यूरेडार चाहिए, वन कंपनी सिंह मेरे को स्प्लंक चाहिए, वन कंपनी सिंह मेरे को वाजू चाहिए. व्हाट आर यू सेंसिंग आउट ऑफ दिस? अ सिम टूल इज नीडेड एज अ bare minimum.
Hmm.
Be it any organization you go. It's not about the technology, but it's about the underlying tool. It's a SIM tool. Be it any SIM tool, then any vendor, you need that bare minimum. This is what you can see from the JD. So
Hmm.
act smartly in that way, and that's the best checklist I can say.
So you mean to say that, before I even started a journey in SOC, I can figure out from the JD what kind of a things are happening in the trend. So I
Yeah,
can able to focus on the quality instead of quantity.
absolutely,
So yeah,
absolutely,
by this we can avoid the noise.
absolutely. Now people run behind running multiple SIM tools. Writing in my
Hmm.
resume, I know IBM Curador, I know Wazoo, this,
Jack
that.
of
I
all
know
trade,
everything.
jack of all trade, master is none.
Absolutely. Okay, it's still better than master of one, but at least you should know one SIM tool end to end,
Hmm.
basics,
Hmm.
architecture of it, how the
Hmm.
log works. See, at the end of the day, SIM tool is based on the same technology. Logs are coming, logs are getting processed,
Hmm.
indexed,
Hmm.
visualized, and they have set up alerting on it.
Hmm.
It's the same technology, it's the same workflow, different name to it, right?
Okay.
So understand that what is a bare minimum, study about it, and I would again emphasize very, very heavily that fundamentals, do it your hardcore.
Hmm.
Networking, OSI, basic Windows fundamentals, right?
One misconception I want to ask you here is, I want to confirm, is it a misconception true? Do we need to know programming language in the era of
I
2025 when we work in?
already predicted this question even before you asked. As soon as you said the word misconception, right? I knew this question is coming. Um, I would say it is not mandatory, to be honest.
Hmm.
But if you know, you will get a cutting edge in the market.
What is the most important programming language you think the person has to know if you want to make him different from others, make him from others different?
Uh, I would say in today's, at least in the SOC world, the bare minimum you should know is Python, right?
Okay.
Because that is very flexible, integratable. Even if you're using multiple tools, it supports basic tasks you can do with Python, and it's easy to learn.
Hmm.
It's very easy to learn.
Why we need to know Python? Why we need a programming knowledge in the SOC when we
Okay,
already having a tool, checking a logs and all that, yeah.
yeah, okay. That's again a good question. Now, see, let's say you have already a tool, you have a
Hmm.
SIM tool.
Hmm.
The amount people what realizes the training environment, the
Hmm.
learning environment is way different from the actual corporate environment.
Hmm.
People, if you're taking coming to me and checking a SOC training, I have one Windows machine sending data to one SIM tool.
Hmm.
How much data you can expect? 30, 40, 50,000? That's it.
Hmm.
An actual environment, we are processing 1 terabytes, 2 terabytes of data per day from thousands of different sources. Makes sense, right? Even if you have a sim tool, data is a problem over here, right? Now, if you know Python, right, or if you know basic scripting, let's say your manager gives you a task that I this is a CSV file and I need to parse it, or this is a JSON I need to parse it. You know Python, you can do it in fraction of seconds because you have an upper edge to it now. It's not necessary कि तुमको आना ही चाहिए, but if you have it, that is what is standing out as a skill to you.
Hmm.
Okay, forget about it. Day-to-day tasks, day-to-day normal operations that you do in a SOC world, right? Setting up basic alerting, as simple as writing a script to detect there is no login in S3 bucket.
Hmm.
मेरे पास एक S3 bucket है, it has a very critical data in it, but somehow I want to set up an alerting to know that, let's say that S3 bucket has some important log data of my organization, and every day there is some process running, writing that data and storing it that S3 bucket. So
Hmm.
every day there's a folder 240525 260525. A folder is created every now and then.
Hmm.
What my sim is doing, my sim is picking up that data, sending it to the sim, visualization वगैरह जो भी कर रहा है. Alerting कैसे करूं मैं? How do I set up an alerting? That how do I know that there is no data in the S3 bucket? If I know Python, I know AWS CL, I can write a script and done. And see, it's not something that my manager is expecting me to do it, or it was written in the JD that this is a thing we want you to do it from your end. But if you know it, it is making your day-to-day life easier
Understood.
at the end of the day. And it is definitely giving you an upper edge that this guy knows how to automate end-to-end stuff. थोड़ा बहुत
Hmm.
automation आता है.
And
Prab, I am openly saying this in your podcast. Let people judge me. I don't know Python like end to end. I know basics. I know how to write a small script, tiny scripts. I'm openly saying in a podcast that I don't know Python. If you ask me, कि भाई, write a program to do an nmap scan for me, a network scanner, नहीं आ पाएगा मेरे को तुरंत. I need some help. But at least I know basic scripts, data कैसे लेना है, CS data. See, at the end of the day, SOC world or any world, right, is all about data, metrics. ठीक है, तुम एक
hmm.
ऊपर बैठे लीडर को ये नहीं बताओगे कि DDoS इंजेक्शन हुआ. तुम उसको ये बताओगे इतने अटैक हुए, इतना हमने ब्लॉक किया. You'll create metrics out of it, right? You'll work around numbers and data at the end of the day. That is what business and leadership understands from you,
Agree.
right? They don't give a about your DLL injection or mimic ads and this technical terms. They don't know it, right?
Agree.
They care about business कैसे impact हुआ. Give me the numbers. अगर
Uh,
तुमको नंबर से भी खेलना है ना, तुमको पाइथन आना चाहिए बेसिक, एक्सेल आना चाहिए, गूगल शीट्स आना चाहिए,
hmm.
राइट? bare minimum stuff.
And when it comes to the requirement of that, as you said, that programming is a misconception is there, which so if I ask you one important thing, a day in a life of a SOC analyst, the last question I want to ask,
Yeah,
how the SOC analyst job look like? So
yeah.
what exactly the process? Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good question. I've already written one blog post way long back on it, but I'll be happy to share. So, day in the life of a SOC analyst is not easy, to be very honest.
Hmm.
Number one, it's a 24/7 job. If
Hmm.
I mean, people already know it, but one thing I would always tell people is, if you're coming into SOC world, don't expect peace. Don't expect it's a typical 9 to 5. 5 के बाद I'll roam with my girlfriend and I'll be chill.
And
No,
boyfriend.
that's not the case. Girlfriend, boyfriend, whosoever. I
दोनों
mean,
देख रहे हो
और I'll
ना?
हाँ, और मेरे पास फ्री टाइम होगा, ठीक
हाँ.
है. सिंगल भी हो ना भाई, तुम ये मत एक्सपेक्ट करना कि 5 के बाद I'll eat popcorn and do Netflix and chill. Not at all possible. Not at all possible, bro. Not at all possible. It always starts with monitoring alerts. Any common SOC analyst job role will have monitoring alerts, monitoring incidents. There is data coming in 24/7 in your organization. There are alerts, there are rules set up to do alert you on that. So
Hmm.
whatever alerts is coming, okay. I'll tell you one interesting fact that I've learned from my experience. SOC job is not about what went wrong. Okay, that's one part of it. What went wrong, but I would say it is like how we can prevent of not ये हम कैसे रोक सकते हैं, how we can prevent of not happening this,
Hmm.
why it went wrong, rather how we can work on it so that it does not go wrong again.
Hmm.
That's entire SOC analyst job actually. So create that wall, create that barrier, so that attackers cannot attack you at the end of the day. So logs are coming in, you're triaging the alerts, handling the alerts on a day-to-day basis, you're working on SIM tool, you're talking with logs. So you should know how to talk with logs. And hence, even in your SOC masterclass podcast, right? I have seen that entire hour of video. You talk about logs, that why logging is important, right? You talk about OSI, you talk about malware analysis. Why? What it? Because logs, you're talking about logs. You're talking about the system. The Windows is sending logs. So it's all about you should know how to talk to logs, right? So you're seeing the logs, you're triaging the logs. And at the end of the day, you're making a decision whether it's a true positive, whether it's a false positive, or whether it's a non-actionable alert.
Agree.
Okay, that's a bare core in a SOC, SOC analyst day-to-day, life of a SOC analyst. Plus, combined with meetings, calls. If there's a smallest incident, smallest alert, you never know. It can, turn out to be a big, havoc in your organization,
True.
and you have to be on call and explain to everyone that what has happened, because that
Hmm.
one small thing can, ruin our entire organization. You never know. Third, in terms of SOC analyst day-to-day life, it is, which is very important, which many people do not understand, do not follow, is continuous learning.
Agree. I agree on that part.
Uh, for me, Prab, there is no single answer. Your next question might be that, यार बंदा वो already काम करके थक के आ रहा है, is, spending his head, scratching his head. मैनेजर ने कुछ बोल दिया, 10 इंसिडेंट सर पे है, and you're sitting self learning, continuous learning. नहीं पता भाई तुमको करना है. And that's the ground reality. I cannot be more blunt than this. I cannot be more blunt than this. And self-learning does not mean invest, 10 hours of your time and do CH or do some course, or, I'm not even saying आप प्रभ नायर की वीडियो 5 घंटा बैठ के एक साथ देखो. नहीं भाई, नहीं, to be very honest. But start it. Do not stop.
Hmm.
I mean, do it. If you have decided that you're gonna, I'll watch Prabh's video in, 5 hours of Prabh video, watch it in parts, right? Rather, I'll skip, watching one episode on Netflix of 1 hour. Rather, 1 hour I'll give it to Prabh's video now.
True.
Time allocation. I'm doing my self-learning now. Okay. Today, even when I'm taking interviews and when I'm giving interviews, very interesting and a common question, especially in the aptitude round, in the behavior round. Technical, you clear, तुम फाड़ के रख दोगे technical. In the aptitude round, people get rejected is, how do you keep yourself updated?
Bus,
Is what they ask you.
that is gone.
You're not giving yourself updated. What you think is, you're handling alerts, you're doing day to day what is required by your company, and you're happy. And forget about interview. Tomorrow, your company won't think twice before replacing you because you're not updated, and someone with more knowledge than you is coming and doing the same job. You will be replaced. You will be replaced.
That I agree.
So keeping yourself updated, the best part is at least read 5 to 7 blogs per day on security. What's happening? कौन सा नया attack आया है? I'm not saying write a threat paper, research paper on it. No, read it, try to understand it. Now, and this is where now you can use AI and, Gemini GPT. कि भाई ये complex word है, इसको समझा दो मुझे कैसे, right?
Hmm.
If there's a research paper by CrowdStrike, there's a CVE found in FortiGate firewall, and you don't know what is a CV, you don't know what is this technical code word written and all. Now you use AI to learn
Hmm.
that, okay, what explain to them is in a simple layman term. Now you can use AI. It is for your own added benefit now, rather than, finding tricks to use AI while giving interviews.
Productivity.
Huh. And Prab, one last thing, because we are talking about interviews, right? And this is very important point because no one has talked about it recently in any of the podcast, in any of the LinkedIn post. Please try to avoid AI while giving interviews. How much ever, easy you find it, please try to avoid that. There are a lot of AI extensions, apps, you know, there are a lot of tricks where, you won't even interview, won't even, you think that interview won't find that I'm using AI. People are judging you these days. We come to know,
True.
yeah. If you're
That I
using
agree.
AI, you will come to know. I'll share one example, and I'll, try, even if people are doing it right, avoid it, right? Why? Please ensure that you have a very stable internet connection and you are hearing the interviewer very properly. मैं बता रहा हूँ क्यों. People, what they do is, यहाँ पे AI खुला हुआ है, this ChatGPT or whatsoever. Interview
Hmm.
is asking me a question. Okay, let's say Prab, you asked me a question. What is top 5 TTPs of MITRE attack? Just ask.
Top TTP metrics and all that. Yeah.
Okay, you are asking. Yeah, repeat. Top 5 TTP MITRE attack. भाई तुम एआई को बता रहे हो, मेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या. So, so even so, hence I said, what happens over here is I have seen people who are answering honestly, but they're not able to hear you properly because of some network issue or whatsoever. Interview is now judging you that you're repeating the question in a loud voice because some AI is there in the background, right?
Hmm.
So avoid this kind of tricks. And no one has talked about it. I have seen, I mean, I'm sorry if any of those people who knows me, who have who have given in interviews, and I've interviewed them, and if तुमको ये personal लग रहा है, लगना भी चाहिए, because this is not how you're gonna end up a job in cybersecurity, and I'm not gonna hire you, seeing you on face.
Makes sense.
So use AI for learning, as I said. Avoid using that while giving interviews because people are not fool. People over there are, much more experienced than you. They are interviewing hundreds of people. You are just one of them. So try not to waste your time plus their time actually.
And one more important thing, when we say about implementations and validations and all that, um, I personally feel that how do you see the overall perspective that matters? How do you see the
Absolutely.
validation that matters?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, Prab, it's I mean, I'll say my personal experience. It's again a debatable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is what I've learned from my managers, from my colleagues, from my networks, from my seniors, from people like you also.
Hmm.
This is what I've learned. One thing is, I don't want an ideal perfect candidate for me. I want a candidate. If it's trainable, I'm happy.
Hmm.
Any company, even my previous managers, my current managers, what they tell me when I interview someone is don't judge the person basis of how much skilled or how much knowledge he has because everyone is different. If the person is trainable, we'll hire that person.
Hmm.
Companies ready to invest that small amount of learning curve, KT, knowledge transfer, we say it, right? KT on that person who is trainable. So even if you're not showing yourself as skilled, it's okay. Try to show yourself as skilled person. But let's say you lack that and you need more time, you need practice, at least try to show yourself as a person who is trainable.
Hmm.
You will be still be an important asset companies can bet on, companies can throw money on.
And when it comes to the positions and all that, uh, will the company ask for any certification when it comes to the these positions and all that?
Yeah, and it depends.
Hmm.
Companies sometimes do ask, sometimes they don't ask. Specifically, in most of the companies that I've seen is, and this is a ground reality, and I don't mind, exposing it openly now, is most of the companies, what they do is they do the initial screening from the HR.
Okay.
Some companies they do it in a better way. They have the set of questions that the HR they have given to the HR and they expect the answer. And now what is happening? The problem is the HR is expecting answer from that answer key sheet that they have from the hiring manager.
Okay.
Now HR doesn't know what is MITRE attack, and she's expecting an answer, you know, persistence जवाब आना चाहिए इसका.
Hmm.
और मैं उसी को इस वे में बोल रहा हूँ that I'm staying, in the system for a long amount of time. मीनिंग तो सेम ही है ना भाई.
बिल्कुल
मैंने
एग्री.
कीवर्ड persistence नहीं बोला. So that is a problem. One thing I can say in terms of certifications and screening rounds conducted by HR. But yes, companies sometimes do ask for certifications. Sometimes they don't completely ignore. Okay.
Hmm.
What I would like to say is, if you don't have paid certifications, right?
Hmm.
Now, if you might ask, हाँ अगर पूछ रहे तो हम कहाँ से लेके आए certifications, right? Don't if you don't have the initial capacity to invest 50-60,000, don't invest, please don't invest. Rather use that money and pay it to a course which is giving you skills rather than a certificate
Okay.
initially. Okay.
Okay.
And try to include free certifications in your profile. EC Council का सबको CH पता है today. People are not aware that EC Council is offering EHE, yeah, Ethical Hacking Fundamentals, something,
Hmm.
Ethical Hacking Essentials,
Hmm.
DFE, Digital Forensic Essentials,
Hmm.
free course,
Hmm.
ISC Square.
CC.
CC. People are
Hmm.
not doing it, right?
Hmm.
Do it. Gain some free
Cisco
certificate.
Network Academy, I think they have.
Cisco Network Academy, they have. The
Uh,
list goes on actually.
hmm.
Okay, and please do not, you know, make a mindset to the people I'm saying is, please do not count Udemy certifications as certifications.
Hmm. They're just training participation. So, yeah.
It is a learning platform. It is an LMS. You're getting certification that you have completed this video. I've watched that video on 2.5x speed. Who is validating it?
Hmm.
So try, the ISA square CC is there, EC Council DFE is there. At least one or two, it's fine in your resume. And best part is, Prab, if someone is asking you, right, have you done this XYZ certification? Okay. Especially if it's an HR in the hiring round, okay. मैं honestly बता रहा हूँ HR को खुद को certification का full form नहीं पता है.
Agree.
Right? Best answer you can give is, I don't have that certification currently in my hand, but I'm preparing for it.
Hmm.
I'm exploring it. Best answer. Rather than say, no, I don't have.
Hmm. And when it comes to the learning part of SOC and all that, there's a last question, sorry. Um, do I need, so if I talk about the knowledge checklist, what I need to know, because now I'm very clear, I thought, okay, I will go with this SIM learning and all that because that is how I'm getting a first job.
Yeah,
So we have a learning sequence. Start with
yeah,
window fundamentals, understand the
yeah,
logs, and then you will basically go for protocols and all
yeah.
that. So how much investment I need to have if I want to learn SOC? At least I should prepare myself for L1.
Um, Monetary investment can be from 0 rupees
Hmm.
up till 1 crore rupees, no limit.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. But one thing I would say is, in terms of investment, in terms of time, because time is money over here now.
Hmm. Agree.
I'm evaluating time as money.
Hmm.
Investment in terms of money as a course,
Hmm.
I can say 10 courses whom I favor,
Hmm.
and there will be more turn into the market. So I am not biased based on ये course करो या वो course करो.
Hmm.
Because मेरे बहुत अच्छे colleagues and दोस्त हैं जो खुद they have their own startups of edtech and they are giving the best course out into the world.
Hmm.
But I don't want to take the names
Hmm.
because it's not a promotional video of something, right? Investment in terms of time, if you want to get into a SOC, what I feel is, at least you should give 60 to 70 hours of the total time I'm asking minimum to clear the fundamental
Exam fundamentals like all logs, windows,
logs,
functionality.
windows, etc., etc., etc.,
Uh,
and at least 100 to 120 hours to set up
hmm.
you at a level where
Hmm.
you know what job to apply for.
Hmm. And the portal will be LinkedIn or Naukri.com. We have to use like now, if you talk about 2025, how to get the first job when it comes to the by the connections, sending them DMs,
Yeah.
or apply the job by the LinkedIn job posting.
Thank you for asking this question. And glad, I mean, you asked because I would have missed this, and this is a very important question. Uh, Please, I mean, use Naukri, use LinkedIn. Keep your Naukri and LinkedIn updated all the time. Okay, keep your CV
Hmm.
updated all the time. One mistake I've seen people do in the entry level is they use one common CV in security for all the jobs. नहीं होता है ऐसा नहीं चलता. I
Hmm.
know it's a time consuming thing, but you have to keep your update your CV every now and then basis the different job you apply for because the JD entirely changes.
Agree.
So I am the kind of a person who will suggest spend 30 minutes before you apply for that job in updating your CV rather than thinking, oh, what if I need to be quick in applying? Otherwise, I'll miss this.
Hmm.
You applied in 3 minutes and you will be rejected in 3 seconds because your
Okay.
keywords are not matching, your CV is not matching to the JD, right?
Hmm.
Rather, take your time, take 30 minutes, update your CV, match the JD and apply. And
Okay.
the best way to get a job in 2025, again, I'm saying is, I have not seen people getting jobs from LinkedIn apply and Naukri apply, to be very honest. It's quite less. Rather, to be
That
very
was a
honest,
brutal
in
reply.
the Prab, to be honest, specifically where in the age of where data is information and data is wealth, right? You will get more spam calls rather than job calls.
Agree.
I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's one part to look at it. Second way, the second reason I'm saying this is the market condition right now.
Hmm.
Probably it might change by the time. people might see this video after 6 months, 7 months. The scenario might change. Okay. But
Hmm.
based on the current market trend, current market, situation, just by clicking on apply won't get you a job.
Understood.
The best way is, if you're even applying there in LinkedIn and Naukri, especially in LinkedIn, you'll get to see the HR or the hiring manager most of the times. Reach
Hmm.
out. वो reply नहीं कर रहे हैं, reach out to the people working in the same company in the same domain. So LinkedIn filter, it's so easy. I want to see people working in company X, and I all have to search is for cybersecurity. Current
Okay.
people, current company is this. You'll get a huge list of people working in that domain in that company. Reach
Hmm.
out, send LinkedIn messages, send DMs request, right? Do not spam them, obviously, because
They
they
will
are
not
also
like it.
humans at the end of the day, right? They'll in fact, won't recommend you. They'll won't, they'll give you a kind of a bashing on the face that, hey, what you are doing. But try to reach out to them. Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, One last thing, Prab, from my personal experience, as you said about reaching out to the people, right? I usually avoid reaching out to the people or to the hiring manager. You know what people do is job application, SOC analyst, Urvesh. सब्जेक्ट में ये लिखते हैं लिंक्डइन पे.
Hmm.
Don't do it, right? How do you catch the attention? Okay, I'll tell you. I was going through one of the job description wherein they were hiring for a senior detection engineer role.
Hmm.
Okay. And the job role was about creating detections and hunting, doing threat hunting, and creating rules in your sim and everything. Creating very effective detections to hunt hackers and all, right? Whatsoever you
Hmm.
can say it. What I did was I reached out to that person, and the subject line was, I have created detections that have hunted real world APTs. And then I am Urvesh and whatsoever, and attached my CV for your reference. Even if that person is not hiring anyone, even if that person is not going to hire me, I have done one thing that at least he'll see that in his inbox, and he'll open and accept the connection and read at least कि क्या लिखा है. Reason is what you are doing, Urvesh Thakkar, SOC analyst, job. Dude, there are thousands of DMs already in that person's inbox with that same structure, right? So be very creative in this. Now, if I'm writing, I have created detections that hunt real world APT groups.
That basically catchy.
That is
Yeah.
very eye catching. Or there's a job role about SOAR, SOAR,
Hmm.
SOAR
Hmm.
engineer.
Hmm.
Rick Urvesh Thakkar, SOAR job location. No, I have created automations to reduce 15% of SOC efforts. That should
Numbers
be a subject
effect.
line.
That is
Even if you're
something. Yeah.
even if you're doing an email to someone, right? Okay, email has to be a more on a formal tone, but at least you can still include some sort of creativity in your email body, right? Highlight
Hmm.
that. Created 15% of automations to reduce SOC efforts. So
Instead of having a please find an attached CV,
yeah,
you can basically use some scripts.
yeah, like you can, and I mean, now you use AI, bro. Now you use AI to make your message bit more better.
Hmm.
Make it a bit eye catchy. So this is where I think it helps you rather than, hi, Urvesh, I saw your post regarding this job opportunity. I came across it and I feel I'm a best fit. You are saying you are a best fit. How would I know you are a best fit? I don't want to click
Hmm.
on that PDF file right now. What if there's a
Hmm.
virus inside that PDF?
Hmm.
I mean, being very hypothetical right now, but you get that point, right? Rather, I am Urvesh. I have this experience. I'm interested for this role, and this is what I've worked on, and this is what I've automated. And in order to know more about me, I have attached my CV for your reference. Or are you open for having a quick conversation on LinkedIn with me?
That basically connect the good dots. Yeah.
Small points no one talks about, but very effective.
Very effectively. I
Very
agree.
effective.
I agree. But Urbil bhai, thanks for the great insight you have shared on this. Guys, those who are watching this podcast, that is not the agenda of podcast. The agenda of podcast was log investigation and all that. And our next video is that only.
Yeah.
The way Urvesh has started this discussion and all that, it doesn't stop me. And I thought I will drag into this area more because I believe that podcast is important. So
Yeah.
our next podcast will be on the log investigation, and do share your comments when you want, and are you waiting for that, because that podcast will be the hands-on workshop, how to
Yeah.
check the logs and all that. I'm going to disturb Urvesh for the same. But
Yeah.
Urvesh, thank you so much, भाई. मतलब दिल खुश हो गया. मतलब I felt so good. You know, I'm actually these questions are on behalf of the participants who struggling with this, and I'm sure after watching this podcast, those who watching this, I'm sure they also get a great insight. And those who want to reach out to Urvesh, I will share the LinkedIn profile of Urvesh. And this guy is doing a lot of social services, and he's always welcome for the people who are making a career opportunities in a SOC and cybersecurity. So Urvesh bhai, we'll meeting again, and our next podcast will be happening on the log investigation vessel, right?
Possibly, yes,
Thanks.
certainly. And thank you so much, Prab. It was great indeed. I mean, both of us, came onto the Zoom meeting for some very different agenda,
Yeah,
and the entire session got dragged into a very different agenda.
yeah,
And I mean, that's what I love about people, the cyber community, like insights. Everyone has something to share. And one thing I would want to add as the last is the outcome of the podcast of this podcast specifically is not to give ye karo, wo karo, do this, do that, do this. But whatever answers that I've given in this podcast are with an intent of how the mindset should be.
agree.
So how you should think rather than what you should do is is the intent of this this particular podcast. What I can say is because what to do, there are thousands of people talking about it, and
But how
they
to
are
do
doing
that?
good.
There's very few.
Yeah, but how to do, what is the mindset you should have is what I feel I have tried to touch upon, and I've tried to spread that message out to the people who are looking out in to start a career in this. And if out of this entire 1 hour, 2 hour, if 1 minute of knowledge, if they are able to interpret in their own life, I think Prabhai, that is a very big achievement for both of us, I can.
Exactly. See, that's when I see everyone, there is a difference in the mindset. Weekends,
Yeah.
people are spending, they're relaxing, but here we are basically creating a future, a
Yeah.
safe environment, for the people who watching this podcast and all that. And I'm sure, this exertion, sometimes weekend exertions are there, but the outcome is when someone tag you, someone reach out to you and say, Urvesh, because of you, I got my first job. So that is a sense of satisfaction is different.
I mean, that is a kind of a satisfaction I'll literally do party on one day.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Urvesh, and thanks for taking out the time. And we are meeting again for the next podcast, which is happening on the log investigation. And
Perfect.
those who are watching this video, if you're new to the channel, do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss the future videos on similar topic. And do let me know in the comment box what is the next video further about log investigation we can make with Urvesh, because I know I can bet on it. When I want to reach out to him, he always available. So that's not a big deal. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this particular podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Good
much,
day.
Prab.